Welcome, amazing soul. They thought they could walk away from you and stay emotionally untouched. But what's happening to them right now is far more intense than anyone realizes. Something has shifted deep inside this person, and the emotional weight of losing you is beginning to tear through every wall they tried to build around themselves. Let me know in the comments if your intuition has been telling you the same thing. At first, this person hid everything behind confusion. They moved through the connection pretending they still had control, pretending they could keep emotions compartmentalized, pretending they had endless time to figure things out. But deep down, they always knew your energy affected them differently. You triggered emotions they couldn't explain logically. Every interaction with you left a mark on them, even when they acted calm on the surface. And honestly, that scared them, because you carried something they could not easily replace. Emotional depth, stability, warmth, intuition. You saw through them in ways other people never could. You sensed things they weren't even ready to admit to themselves yet. And instead of surrendering to that connection fully, they became defensive. At first, it looked subtle. They questioned things internally, pulled back emotionally after moments of closeness, acted uncertain when their feelings became too strong. They kept trying to protect themselves emotionally without realizing they were slowly damaging the connection in the process. But now, the consequences are arriving all at once. Because after distance entered between you, silence became unbearable for them. The moment they stopped having regular access to your energy, something inside them started unraveling emotionally. They tried distracting themselves, staying busy, acting like life was moving forward normally. But no matter what they did, your absence stayed present in their mind constantly. And that's when the realization finally began. You were never just another person to them. You became emotional home. There's also strong regret surrounding the way they handled you. This person now sees clearly how guarded they were. They realize how often they kept emotions hidden instead of expressing them honestly. They replay conversations in their head constantly now, remembering moments where they should have reassured you, moments where they should have chosen vulnerability instead of silence. And those memories are haunting them, because now they understand something painful. You loved them more sincerely than they admitted at the time. There's also emotional panic happening because this person senses your energy changing. They feel you emotionally detaching little by little, even if you still care deep down. They notice your silence feels different now. Your energy feels calmer, more self-focused, less emotionally dependent on their presence. And honestly, that terrifies them. Because suddenly they're realizing you may actually move forward without them. Now listen carefully, because this is where the emotional collapse truly begins. This person has spent a long time trying to avoid accountability for their own emotional confusion. They convinced themselves they could always come back later, that eventually you would still be emotionally available. But something recently forced them to face the truth directly. You are no longer waiting in the same way. And the second that realization hit them, emotional chaos exploded internally. They started overthinking everything, wondering if they waited too long, wondering if someone else will step into your life, wondering if the emotional bond they took for granted is slipping away permanently. And they cannot emotionally handle that possibility. There's also a deep karmic element surrounding this connection. This wasn't casual, this wasn't random attraction. There was soul recognition between you from the beginning. even if neither of you fully understood it at first. The emotional familiarity between you ran deeper than logic. That's why separation feels so unbearable now, because emotionally, they still feel tied to you, even in silence, even at a distance. You linger in their thoughts constantly now, especially late at night. That's when the regret becomes strongest. They replay your conversations, your kindness, your patience, the emotional safety you offered them, while they remained emotionally conflicted themselves. And now they see clearly how much you gave emotionally while asking for so little in return. That realization hurts them deeply. There's also something spiritual happening here that they cannot ignore anymore. Their intuition keeps pulling them back toward you repeatedly. Signs, memories, emotional flashes, songs, dreams, random reminders appearing everywhere. No matter how much they try to mentally move forward, your energy keeps reappearing in their emotional field. And honestly, they're exhausted from trying to resist it. Because the more they resist their feelings, the stronger those feelings become. There's also a painful awareness growing inside them around the emotional imbalance they created. They now understand they received your love more than they properly reciprocated it emotionally. They see how often you tried to create emotional harmony while they remained emotionally inconsistent. And now guilt is entering the situation too, because they know your heart deserved more certainty than they gave. There's also strong energy around emotional awakening here. This person is finally confronting emotions they avoided for a very long time. Vulnerability, attachment, fear of abandonment, fear of losing someone irreplaceable. You triggered emotional growth in them whether they were ready for it or not. And now that growth hurts, because awakening often begins with loss. There's also movement approaching quickly around this connection. Fast communication energy surrounds this reading heavily. Messages, emotional confessions, sudden attempts to reconnect, because this person can no longer emotionally sit still pretending nothing happened between you. The emotional pressure inside them became too heavy. There's another important detail though. This person now sees your value differently than before, not only emotionally, spiritually. They recognize your strength now. The way you stayed soft without becoming weak, the way you cared deeply without losing your dignity, the way you slowly withdrew emotionally instead of creating chaos when hurt. And that maturity humbled them deeply, because now they realize how rare you truly are. There's also strong longing around your shared memories. They keep revisiting moments between you mentally, because emotionally those memories feel alive. Certain conversations replay over and over in their mind, certain looks, certain emotional moments. It's like their soul refuses to let the connection fade naturally, and honestly, it probably never will completely, because this connection altered them permanently. There's also emotional conflict happening because part of them still fears vulnerability. Part of them still wants emotional control. But now, another part is becoming louder. The part that simply misses you desperately. And that emotional conflict is tearing them apart internally. One moment they want to rush toward you immediately. The next moment fear freezes them again. But the silence between you has become too emotionally painful for avoidance to continue much longer. There's also a major shift happening in your energy now too. You're becoming more grounded emotionally, more aware of your own value, more protective over your peace. And while you still carry love for this person, you're no longer willing to abandon yourself emotionally just to preserve connection. That shift changed everything. Because now, this person understands they cannot simply return casually anymore. If they come back, it must be real, honest, emotionally mature. Because you are no longer emotionally available for confusion disguised as love, and deep down, they know it. There's also healing happening quietly inside you despite the heartbreak. You may not fully feel it yet, but your spirit is rebuilding itself stronger than before. Every painful realization taught you something important about boundaries, self-worth, emotional consistency, and what true love should actually feel like. And ironically, watching you heal is breaking this person emotionally even more. Because now they see clearly what they risked losing. Not temporary attention, not casual affection. Real love, the kind people search for their entire lives and rarely find. And now that truth is sitting heavily on their chest every single day. There's also reunion energy surrounding this reading strongly though. This does not feel emotionally finished. The emotional attachment remains too powerful, too unresolved, too spiritually significant. But if reconnection happens, it cannot happen under the old emotional patterns anymore. The old dynamic already collapsed. Now something deeper is trying to emerge. But before that can happen, this person must fully face the emotional consequences of how they handled you. And honestly, that realization is already tearing them apart from the inside out. Because now they finally understand the truth they spent so long avoiding. They didn't just lose someone they cared about, they lost someone extraordinary. And now, they can't stop feeling the emptiness you left behind.